Hold up.
Hey guys, it is Tristan with Nerdouts Newsstand, and today I have Drew from Comics Elite, and we are going to do the top 10 books of the year. And I'm really excited. I have a feeling our lists are going to be quite different. And that's why I wanted to make sure Drew came on and gave his opinion too. How are you today, Drew?
I am doing very well. It's the morning after seeing Spider-Man No Way Home, and Born of Blood is doing outstanding right now. So I am on cloud nine right now.
Awesome. And make sure you guys check out in the description and pinned comment. I will have the campaign for Born of Blood, and I will have Comics Elite channel on there. And yeah, congratulations. You hit 60K, right?
Yes, it did last night, right before the movie started.
Yeah. That's so great. That's so great. I'm so excited for you guys. So let's talk top 10. I do have, I couldn't decide. This was really hard. So I wanted to mention 2 books beforehand, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah.
As kind of honorable mentions. I wanted to mention Wonder Woman Historia. I know a lot of people know I love that book, but just the artwork alone, it needs to be mentioned. Oh, Phil Jimenez did such a fantastic job. Kelly Sue DeConnick's writing is very feminist in nature. So I did enjoy it, but I understand why other people didn't. And the other book I wanted to mention was Wonder Girl. It kind of got this slow start. It's really great, but because of the delays, it kind of killed some of the momentum. And I'm hoping going into Trial of the Amazons, we get that momentum back. And I love Joelle Jones. The way she draws Yara Flor, to die for. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned those beforehand because they didn't make my list, but they were worth checking out. So what do you have for 10? Let's start right away.
So my number 10, like you, I incorporated things like momentum being lost, delays, payoffs. So my number 10 for the year is Orphan and the Five Beasts from Dark Horse.
What? I've never even heard of it.
Never heard of it? Wow. Yeah, James Stokoe is his name, writer-artist. And this is a creator-owned series from Dark Horse, Orphan and the Five Beasts. And this female character, she's traveling throughout the landscape, fighting these 5 over-the-top, larger-than-life villains. One is called Thunder Thighs. He actually has these huge, massive thighs. It's hysterical.
Oh my gosh!
And this last villain, it's one of those things. It's one of those stories where I don't want to spoil it because by spoiling it, it's going to ruin the fun of it. It's going to ruin the shock and the excitement. So, but James Stokoe's art is fantastic. He's doing a lot of variant covers for DC. He's doing them for Joker, I believe. But yeah, his interior pages are gorgeous.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to have to check it out. I've never heard of that one. That's weird. Is it on when you guys do your weekly videos? You include it?
And like I said, the case in point, this is why it's number 10, because it's been delayed heavily. Like issue 1 came out in February. Issue 2 came out in April. And then issue 3 came out in September or October. There was
okay.
That's exactly, that's why it's bumped down to number 10.
Well, for my number 10, I actually have somebody in this list that's in here twice. But for my number 10, I have Ram V's Radio Apocalypse. Now, I reviewed this book, and the reason it's 10 is because there is only 1 issue out so far. But it was a different concept. There's a lot of post-apocalyptic stories out, right? You can basically pick up a book and it's likely, you're going to get one. But this did it a little bit differently. But why I included this is because how he does his music within it. You've got the little pictures in there where you're supposed to play the Muse or you're supposed to play Bruce Springsteen. And when doing so, I don't know if it was because it was first thing in the morning or what. By the time I got to the Bruce Springsteen song, I had to stop reading and wipe my eyes. Like I was bawling. And I think the way that I love music and I love comics and combining them together is genius. And I never even thought to do, of something like this. And I absolutely loved it. And Ram V, I have no doubts that this book is going to be good. He's one of those authors at this point I just pick up. I just know he's going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Ever since was it Strange Tide, Strange Voyage or whatever he did for I think it was for Vault years ago. Yeah, he's been just trending upwards with every single comic he's writing.
Oh yeah, he's so good. But like I said, he will be on here later in this video again. And I actually had to decide whether or not to put The Many Deaths of Layla Starr and have him on here 3 times. I'm like, come on. I get I'm a Rom V fan, but yeah, I got to give some other people a chance. So what did you have for number 9?
My number 9 for the year is Better Ray Bill by Daniel Warren Johnson.
Ooh, good pick.
This was a 6-issue miniseries, I believe, maybe 5, I forget. But his art, just like James Stokoe, fantastic. His dialogue, his storytelling is beautiful. There was one, just a double-page splash, double-page spread he did of Scuttlebutt. You could see every interior level, every interior room of Scuttlebutt. It's all intricately designed. It is gorgeous. And the last issue with the big final fight with Better Ray Bill and I forget the giant demon he fights. It is beautiful. It is breathtaking. It is badass. I cannot recommend Better Ray Bill enough. And Daniel Warren Johnson's just a great guy. A little like if there was a number 11 I would put in here for short story of the year, it'd be from Superman Red and Blue number 5. This the very last story that he wrote and drew about Jonathan Kent. Talking to Clark and keep telling him how proud he is of him. Then it ends with Clark telling the world he's proud of everyone.
Oh, that one's so good.
Yes.
That whole issue was really good.
Yes, it was. Yeah, when was it Steve Orlando? Not Steve Orlando. Phil. What is his name? I forget. He wrote the first story with Crypto.
Yes.
Judd Winnick. He wrote the first story with. It was beautiful. Loved it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that whole issue. And then that one with G. Willow Wilson she did where you know which one I'm talking about? Where he solves it as Clark.
Yeah, with the glasses. Yeah.
Yes. So
I had to give G. Willow Wilson the credit. I'm like, oh my gosh, she actually I have never really been that impressed with G. Willow Wilson, but that story, that was, in my opinion, I think, wow, she knocked this story out of the park. I couldn't believe this.
I really, that whole issue. And I don't like anthologies generally.
Yeah, most of the time you're going to get one good story and the rest is going to be crap. Yeah.
If you're lucky.
Yes.
So for number 9, and the only reason it's number 9 is because I'm behind on reading it, but it's Echolands.
Wow, number 9. Okay.
Yeah. That's my behind on it. You don't even have to read it. No. It is a work of art. J.H. Williams III came on not that long ago, probably when the first issue came out. And I was reading the first issue after I picked it up. And there was an email at the end and I sent it and I'm like, is this real? And he's like, yeah, it is. I'm like, you want to come on my channel? He's like, yeah, I do. I'm like, okay. All right. But he talked about how much of a passion project this is. And this is something that everyone should be reading. It probably should have been lower on my list, but I'm such a DC person. It's ridiculous. But it is stunning. Every single time you turn the page, it's a work of art. The way he does his paneling. If you liked his Batwoman run, this is that on crack or on steroids. It is stunning. I am behind though. And that's the only reason I put it at number 9 was because I need to read the last 2 issues.
If only you knew someone who works at a comic book shop that could be able to send you those books,
Right? Exactly. They are works. And that's what I hate because I read them on my phone and I have to turn it sideways and they're that long panel format.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of hard. But I guess it would be different if it was physical, way different. But it's absolutely amazing. Wonderful book. You definitely should be reading it.
I may be talking about that one a little bit later. We'll see what happens.
So what'd you get for... Wait, are we on number 9?
We just did number 9, yeah.
Okay, so what'd you get for 8?
Number 8, from Humanoids, I have Space Bastards.
I knew that was going to be on the list. I knew it was.
From issue 1 up to, I think the latest one was issue number 9 or 8 or 9. It has been no holds barred, tasteless, disgusting, offensive, over-the-top violence, and I love it. It pulls no punches in any regards. It is terrific. It's one of those palate cleansers you need. When people you can tell stuff like the big two are playing it safe with their titles. This one does not play it safe in any regards, and I appreciate that. And the story itself is fantastic about this intergalactic post office. How they're all pretty much the more dangerous jobs, the more money you get. And they can each one, so that the different tasks come into these little canisters, and so if they're valuable, another postman can come along, knock that postman out, take that, and the fee goes up. So every time they exchange hands, it gets more valuable. So got that factor in there. It's a lot of fun, and I can't recommend this series enough. And Derek Robertson on the art. Beautiful.
Oh wow. Isn't Humanoids the one that did Ignited? And some of those other I'm surprised. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, likewise. We interviewed Joe Aubrey and I forget who the other gentleman. Oh, he's gonna kill me. He's on our videos a lot. We talked about that because we interviewed them and he said this is pretty much the polar opposite of what's on the Humanoids release list. And he said Mark Waid was all for this from day one. They wanted to publish this. They loved it. I'm like, wow, this is very shocking.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that is awesome. That's great. I still need to check that out, but I from your videos, I knew it was going to be on the list. I knew it'd make it. So for number 8, I have Carmen. This is a book that I have talked about so many times. It's Gilliam March. It's basically this girl.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she's floating around naked, and in the very beginning, we see her commit suicide, and it goes on from that. And she's in the afterlife, and Carmen is the person that is taking her from basically the human world to the afterworld. And then there's a bunch of twists and turns along the way. She sees she was misunderstanding stuff about her boyfriend and her roommate, and then eventually she just may get a happy ending. So it is fantastic. And I love Gilliam March anyway, but this was something that was a lot of the storytelling comes from the art of it. And what she does in this time, to help other people, and even though she can't, interact with them, is really, really powerful. And it's great that it's a positive spin on mental health. And I think I'll leave it at that because it's definitely worth the read. It's only 5 issues, so it's a quick read, but it's fantastic. So what did you have for number 7?
Number 7, I have got from IDW, Transformers King Grimlock. In my opinion, this is probably the best Transformers comic that has come out since All Hail Megatron. And that was about 15 years ago. It's written by Steve Orlando, and he has completely knocked this out of the park. I think it's Ave Avia is on the art. But every interior art page is just boom, bombastic, like a movie scene, over the top awesomeness. Grimlock just ripping things apart, blowing things apart with his breath. It is great. It is how a Transformers book should be. And if I were a kid again and I'm reading this, I'm going to be loving the Transformers, especially Grimlock after reading this.
Now, there's actually 2 Transformers series out right now,
3.
right?
I think there's 3 or 4 actually.
Okay, so this is King Grimlock, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to make sure because I knew that I don't read Transformers. That's a whole. If you're reading Transformers or Power Rangers, Drew, that's a whole nother level of nerd you just became. By the way, I'm just kidding. But I wanted to make sure it was the right one because I know that some people really enjoy that, and I've heard pretty bad things about the other ones.
They're pretty bad because I'm a born Transformers fan. Not gonna lie, I've loved Transformers ever since I was in kindergarten, preschool. And when you read a story like this, after growing up with characters like Grimlock, and you see him treated with respect in this, and you really see the true Grimlock in this, it brings out the inner kid in you. You're just like, yes, this is what I've always wanted from a Transformers book. They get it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I like Steve Orlando a lot anyways. I think he does a pretty good job. So yeah, definitely awesome. So for number 7, I have Donny Cates crossover. I love this book. Like, this is so weirdly meta about it, especially in this last issue. It's like superheroes come to life in this big bang, but if their writer is killed, then they are killed. So it's like they are all these little mini gods. And the last issue was so good. It was Brian Michael Bendis was in the story. He wasn't writing it, but thankfully, no. And it's so funny because you've got these panels where it's like Brian K. Vaughan died. And he's like, oh my God, no. He's like, who was the other one? Chip Zdarsky. Oh, he's my friend.
And Scott Snyder. Scott Snyder too.
Yeah, and then he's like, Scott Snyder died, and he's just like, oh. And he doesn't give a shit. Like, I absolutely love it. And this is one of those stories that should have been thought of before. But because Donny Cates is doing it, and I love Donny Cates anyway, he is doing such a fantastic job. Like, I don't read a lot of his Marvel stuff, but I read his Baby Teeth and some of the other stuff he's worked on. And Donny Cates, every single time when he picks up these characters, even if they aren't his characters, like he has his own original in here, but you also see like Kick-Ass and other stuff. He does such a good job with it. And it's so fun, especially if you're an Image fan, like because he incorporates some of those, like we see Savage Dragon and some of the other characters within it. And I believe the last ones we saw were from Blade Runner, I want to say. I don't remember because I never read it, but it's so good. It is absolutely worth the read. It's a good like comic book fan comic, if that makes sense. Like if you are brand new to comics, you might not like it as much, but to see stuff like the God Country Sword and stuff like that, I absolutely love it. So good, really, really good. What do you got? 666.
Number 6, you brought up the title a little while ago, a few minutes ago, saying like this is a whole other level of nerd.
Oh no!
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yes. Oh, that's hilarious.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers by Ryan Parrott. I got a chance to meet him this past weekend at C2E2, and it was awesome. And you can tell he loves the Power Rangers. And I'm a fan of the OG Power Rangers, the original 5 or 6 when Tommy came in. And to see these characters fleshed out, you see them become fully like every dimensional character you can imagine. You see everything with them now. You see new aspects of them, new relationships with them. And we get to see the origins of Lord Zordon and Zed. Lord Zed and Zordon, and this Altarian war with the alien race that Zed is, that Zordon is from, is terrific, and it's very Claremont-esque in the aspect. There's all these little subplots going on with these characters that make it much more interesting. You're hoping there could be some big payoffs to come later on down the road. I'm having a lot of fun, and if you really do like the original Power Rangers, you're going to really love this series. It's fantastic.
I totally used to be the Pink Ranger when I was a little kid. I was always the Pink Ranger.
I was always a White Ranger. I wanted to be the White Ranger.
That's awesome. I used to, I never got into the comic books. I should check them out, but I always loved the Power Rangers as a kid, and I don't know why I never checked out. Maybe I have to. So for number 6, I actually have Geiger.
Okay.
Jeff Johns can touch any character, and I don't have to know him. I could love them, and he is going to hit it out of the park. It's almost like, you take another post-apocalyptic world. You have this bomb go off, and you meet Tarek Geiger, and basically go through what he's going through in this, and you see his family put away, and he thinks they're safe, and that kind of gets thrown to the side. And he loses all hope, basically, when he finds out his parents, or not his parents, his two children and his kid, his wife are dead. And then you have these 2 kids come along. And that brings hope back. And then we see a lot of world building coming up as far as Junkyard Joe and all of these weird characters. Like, he's doing it so weird. We have like a flapper girl from the 20s and a king and a queen, but he makes it work. It's almost like Dr. Phosphorus-esque in a weird way, but he makes all of these weird aspects work really well. And he's and build on the world. And I absolutely love Geiger. Like, that is one I will be talking about all throughout next year, too. I can guarantee it. It's so good. Have you read Geiger?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, it's good. To me, it got better. I wasn't as big a fan of the first issue or two, but I learned to really appreciate it and like it as it went along. It got better for me.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So hopefully each issue keeps getting better. But to me, I said before, it's not Jeff Johns' best work. I think it's really good. I think it has promise. It can be. Hopefully, it can be great.
It is great. He's wrong. Anyways, so for number 5, what do you have?
I have got Superman 78 from DC Comics. Yes.
Good pick.
I love this series. Ever since I got to preview issue 1 at MegaCon on Robert Venditti's laptop. He showed it to me on his laptop at his desk. Oh, that's
so cool.
I was Sean and I were chatting away with him and Dana Dio for hours, and he showed us those pages, and we were blown away by it. And this series has not disappointed at all, and I strongly believe, I will stand by it, this is the best Superman series from DC Comics. And when I see Lex Luthor on the page, I'm hearing Gene Hackman's voice. When I'm seeing Christopher Reeve Superman, I'm hearing Christopher Reeve. These are these characters from the film. And I really strongly believe this should have been the third movie. And it's a great, just if only, it's one of those things, if only this had happened. If only this had been the third film.
Yeah, it is phenomenal. It didn't make my list, but it is definitely worth checking out. So I actually stayed up for my number 5 last night to read it because everybody talks about it, and you're the one that introduced me to it, and that is Stray Dogs. Oh my God. Why didn't I read? How did I sleep on this story? It's so good and it's so cute. Like, I absolutely love all of these dogs, and it is a quick read. It when put in the trade form, but it is so good and it's so different. And I noticed we're getting like all these little spin-off, like kind of mocking ones. We had like Animal Castle and then Good Boy, and kind of trying to live off of that fame, but it is so well drawn. It looks so Disney-esque. And you're like, this is gonna be what is this? And it's not. It is absolutely the opposite of what you're gonna think. Like, these dogs are he's got a bunch of them, and it's because he's a murderer and he's killing these people's owners, and it's so good. And they figure out the mystery themselves, and it's wonderful. I absolutely loved it. I'm so glad I finally read it. Only took me, the whole year.
Did I remember to put that on my list? I'm not sure.
Oh no.
Maybe I did. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely worth the read. So what'd you have for number 4?
Number 4 is Ultra Mega from Image Comics.
Awesome.
James Herron, written and drawn. So I am not the biggest kaiju anime fan, but how James Herron has set up this world where it's big, like a superhero Ultra Mega, like an Ultraman. These guys fighting these huge kaiju. It's more or less, I hate to say setting it in a real world, but it's taking that aspect where it's like, what if you did fight these huge monsters? You chopped off a limb. Where is all that blood going? Where are those bones going? And you just see like this blood just flood through the streets. You see these real world effects of having these huge monsters and people in the cities, and how the story plays out, how humanity more or less kind of devolves with these people on Earth. and when one of the superhero when the heroes dies, who's going to be there to take his place? It is terrific. It is just like with James Stokoe and J.H. Williams. Every page is just brilliant and just blows your imagination. You can tell they are very creative, and I cannot recommend Ultra Mega enough.
That's awesome. I never read it just because I'm not a kaiju person.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not either, and I love this. It is fantastic.
That's awesome. I'll have to check it out. So I had to put this on here because it made this character fun again, and that is Jeremy Adams' Flash. Because
nice.
He is, how do I say this? Like, you've got Barry Allen, and we had, great stories with him in the past, but now you're bringing Wally back. You're bringing back fun to the character. You're making it all ages. You're making him this fantastic dad. That daddy-daughter issue with the dance was so endearing. And then this last issue, you had to, hurry, turn the page. Like, it is one of those books that are all ages. And it's definitely, you could read it with a sibling or a kid or a nephew, and you would still enjoy it. And I think that's what makes this so great, because I'm not a huge Flash fan. And Flash has never been even in my top 10 at DC. And Jeremy Adams is making this character fun and bringing in different elements as far as like familial bonds and as far as different characters to interact with. And I think he gets like this character at its core. Like, I feel like he would be great to do a Flash family thing. He would be great to bring in other speedsters like we saw with Williamson run. I think Jeremy Adams deserves so much more work, and his Flash is so good. I absolutely love it.
I could not agree with you more. It has been fantastic, and I was kind of hesitant at first because after everything with the not Flashpoint, Future State, we saw what they did to Wally in Future State. I was beyond pissed because they made him a serial killer again, I was kind of hesitant about jumping back on board the Flash series if we're just going to be heading down that path again. But it sounds like he's not heading down that path. They're not going to do that. Yeah.
They actually retcon the Heroes in Crisis stuff out.
Mm-hmm. Which is terrific. It's fantastic. I love it. And yeah, I am really thoroughly enjoying this new Flash series. Like you said, the last issue with Dr. Fate, that more or less choose your own adventure.
It was so cute.
It was fun. Yeah. And I love the issue before that with Dr. Fate and introducing Eclipso back into the mix.
Yes.
I love that issue. And the art is stunning. Every page is stunning. I love how he draws the Flash. I love how he draws that costume.
Yes, absolutely. So the Flash is finally fun again. I love it. I love it. So what did you have for number 3?
Number 3, you brought up his name earlier, Ram V's Swamp Thing.
Oh my God, that's my number 3 too.
Yeah, I love this series. Ever since his Future State 2-parter, I have been on this series hook, line, and sinker. Mike Perkins on the art. Every day I'm going on the Mike Perkins page to look at what art I want to buy. I'm always every page it winds up being sold. And you see why. He's been in the business for a long time, and this is some of the best art of his career. It is beautiful, every single page. And some people, I had heard a criticism that they think there's a lot of pacing for the trade from this story. I don't necessarily agree with that. I feel like it's building the suspense for each issue, kind of like how Alan Moore had written Saga of the Swamp Thing back in the 80s. And I appreciate this pacing. And I am so glad it got extended, and I can't recommend this series enough.
I love how he can put like Future State, or not Future State, I'm sorry, that crossover with Suicide Squad, which is another great title. Didn't make my list, but it's great. Yeah. And it didn't change the pacing.
No,
it
not at all.
It still made this story make sense. I love how we're learning like about his culture too. He's bringing up where he came from, that forest.
Yeah, the Indian forest is an actual forest. Yeah, they're in India.
Ram V does such a good job of, because he's Indian himself, writing what he knows in a fantastic way. And like you said about Alan Moore, I would put this on par with that, with his being obviously Alec Holland and this being Levi Kamei. But there was a lot of like, oh my God, they're changing another character. No, this was when you truly had to wait and see, because this is so well done. And we actually see Alec a couple times.
Yeah.
And we see Alec it out of the story.
Yeah, we see Alec more or less kind of hand over the mantle to Levi, which is great. He just tells him, hey, it's your turn now. I'm done in one issue earlier on. And it's great. They did a great job passing the mantle. And I was hesitant at first because Rom had made that he sent out that text or tweet or whatever saying finally we're going to have an Indian Swamp Thing. I'm like, I don't necessarily care for that. I want a good story. But he's told a good story with it. He's told a great story with it, which is
a great story.
Terrific. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love how his brother is valid. And I think we're getting more avatars of different things.
Yes. I love
like
that
the sand.
The last issue. Yeah. It's great.
I know, I'm so excited. You know what? I said it one more time. I said it in my last video with my top 5 from last week, but I fucking called it when I interviewed Ron V, and he got so like, he was like, you're just going to have to wait and see. And I was like, I knew it. It's so good. It really is. So go right on to number 2.
You said this title earlier. It's my number 2, Stray Dogs from Image Comics.
So good.
Sean gave me so much crap for months for reading this series. I still go back to the video every now and then. Back in January when I read issue 1, he was just like, wait, what? Huh? What is this? Are you kidding me? And it took everyone, even his wife, to get him to read this. And he loved it too. Yeah, it took him some convincing, but yeah, he learned to love it. And like you said, you feel for these animals. You really do. Each one is a character in their own unique way. And it's drawn by Trish Forstner in that Don Bluth animated style, and it is going to be eventually. It will be a film. She did say it's been picked up by Paramount Animation.
That's so awesome.
It's in the works, and so I could not be happier for Trish. We've talked. I message Trish all the time. I've done nothing but congratulate her. She's deserved it. She's knocked it out of the park. And there's a reason why every store is doing a variant for this comic, is because it's just that good.
It really is. And I won't say which reveal, but you'll know what I mean when I'm talking about the Dalmatian. I literally gasped. I was like brokenhearted.
I cried at the end of that issue. I'm not going to lie. I cried at the end of that issue. I felt so bad for that Dalmatian. I felt terrible.
I know.
It breaks your heart.
It really, really does, but it's so good. It's such a good read.
Yeah.
So for number 2, I have Nocterra.
Oh.
I love Nocterra. I feel like it comes off that I love these like post-apocalyptic stories, but I don't. And this is one we really haven't seen before. Like the world goes dark, essentially. And we learn through Val and her brother Emery what happens during that. And we have these, basically they're ferrymen, and they travel people in between ports that are lit up. And we kind of come to find out what these shades become. They become, if you're out in the dark for too long, you become a shade. And that's essentially, I don't know, their version of a weird zombie, but it's not like, and we're going to learn about different Terras. So there's 9 different Terras, and this is Nocterra. And there's also one that is full of light, and they have to go to the sanctuary to get this light. And Scott Snyder, and he did We Are Demons recently, and I felt like his characterization of the female in there was too close to Val in this story. But in this story, this character is a fully fledged badass girl. And the art is by Tony Daniels. Oh my God. So beautiful. And the way that she cares for her brother and then eventually cares for Bailey and protects these kids. And still, a little, wants to do the best by them and also survive, keep them around, but figure out what is going on. And at a point, she feels like she has nothing left to live for. So she takes a chance, and it's a really smart chance. And I absolutely, oh my God, it's so good. So good. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I was, it's another one kind of like Geiger, where at first I wasn't the biggest fan, but I learned to really like it as the story went along. Like my favorite issue of the series, I forget which issue number it was when her brother, he starts getting better health wise, and he stands up to his sister and said, "Hey, no, I'm going to live free. I'm not going to live in this not going to live in this world." I'm like, that is great right there. That is I love that. Love that little segment, that comic, that issue right there. And I'm
that's
hoping
when she wanted to stay, right?
What's that? Yeah, she wanted to stay. He's like, "No, I'm going to live free. I'm going to go. I want out of here." And it's like, that's great. I love that. Yep,
and it does a really good job with them wanting to do the best for each other, but also, they're human. They're going to be a little selfish.
Yeah.
And I totally get it. It's so good. Really, really good. What'd you get for number 1? That was totally a terrible drum roll. There we go.
Yeah. Echolands is my number 1 of the year. I can, ever since issue 1, like you said, you're reading it like this. Initially, I see it. I'm like, oh, God, not one of these gimmicks. Please, no. And from page 1, his artwork, it is stunning. Every single panel, every page, it is breathtaking. You never know what you're going to get with the next pages. And every character is so unique and well drawn, well illustrated. The story is very simple. And it's just a woman who steals a MacGuffin, trying to escape with her friends. And the king and his army, his special assassins, are trying to get it back. Right. And they're going to the different, more or less different towns or whatever of this universe city. And they're all unique and cool. And one of the last issues, we had his art style merge with the Kirby art style. We got the Kirby crackle in some of the pages.
Oh my gosh.
It was gorgeous. It was great. And every issue is so imaginative that I cannot recommend this series enough. And I really wish I'd had the chance to meet J.H. Williams to tell him, like, dude, this is the best series of the year, if not one of the best of the last 5 or 10 years. It is amazing.
Yeah. And each when they're going through each little town area, even the borders, you don't get paneling. You get borders that are beautiful and show you what's around the area. It is a piece of artwork.
Yes.
If I've ever seen one. Probably one of the prettiest comics you will ever pick up.
Absolutely.
Ever. Mine is totally different.
Oh.
I have Department of Truth.
Oh, fascinating. Okay.
It is. Okay, so I love weird rabbit holes anyway. I love looking stuff up at night, and it's this sleepwalker did this, and what about these aliens, and maybe there's an Illuminati. I love entertaining that idea, because I think it's, if anything else, even people don't believe in conspiracies, it's entertaining at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
This takes that and incorporates it into an amazing book where, from the very beginning, we've been trying to figure out who the Black Hat is, who the Department of Truth really is, because they're run by, oh my God, what's his name? Lee Harvey Oswald. But we don't know if they're the good guys or the Black Hat's the good guys, and we don't know who this mysterious Babylon lady is. And I have looked at this story, and they bring in aliens. They bring in Babylon, like I just said. They bring in weird stuff about Bigfoot. I never thought about Bigfoot as anything serious. And then you've got stories about this family that was literally ripped apart by the legend of Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. Because a man was so obsessed with Bigfoot, it ripped his family to shreds. Mm-hmm. And you hear it from the son's perspective, and then you get to see what an actual Bigfoot is. And I'm still weeks out guessing what in thinking about that book. I'm wait, so if enough people believe in something, that makes it real? Or is it real and then they get a whiff of it and then it becomes a big spread idea? we kind of got some answers to that question, but at one point they literally have to get rid of a flat Earth. Like, it's such a cool concept. And if you like anything conspiratorial, if you like learning about that weird kind of stuff, you're going to love this book. And at first, when I checked out the art, I was like, it's all right. It's very indie. And then I'm like, I can't picture any other art in this book. It's so good. And it fits the scene. And one thing I want to say about this is it does, we talk a lot on this channel about relationships, LGBTQ representation and stuff like that when it comes to John Kent or Harley Quinn or something like that. This takes a man that is openly queer and does it 100% perfectly. Like, there's no like, oh my God, hey guys. Like, there's nothing. It is like, I'm going home to my husband.
Yeah, and I love Lee Harvey Oswald. I think it's him giving him crap for it. Just
it's Hawk. He calls him the F word.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my God, how did Tinian not get canceled for this? Yeah. But it's because it's so good.
Yes,
it's so good, and he makes fun of him for like having a girly drink.
Yeah, great. I love it. Just that's what people do. That's what people do. They bust each other's balls. They give each other crap. That's what you do.
And he does a good job, like with the dialogue. It's so real. It feels
exactly.
Like the interactions are fun, and they make you think. If I'm thinking about a book a week later, that means it's a good book. You know what I mean? Like if I'm contemplating in my head what could happen next, you've got me hooked, and I'm coming back for every single issue. And it also got picked up for a TV show, and I cannot wait. Just please don't ruin it. I swear to God, don't pull a Jupiter's Legacy. I will never forgive Netflix. Never. It's so good. Geepa, I still to this day, I think it's Audrey Hepburn for Babylon the Girl, or I think it is Marilyn Monroe. And I want to know, but I kind of don't want to know because I keep wondering. Like, I want to know it. I really think it could be them. Great.
It could be. It very well could be. Or it could be like an avatar of like all the Hollywood starlets, who are quote unquote merged into one body or something like that.
Ooh, now I'm gonna think about that. Now I'm gonna see what I mean. It's that good. It really, really is, and it's continually good. Like, you don't have an issue drop out that's kind of like, meh, all right, I'll pass on. No, it is continually good. Tinian has a okay Batman. But Tinian on the other side of the fence, and you put him on something like that, or something is killing the children, that's where he shines. That's where he absolutely does phenomenal. Even Nice House on the Lake. Such a great book. He does great horror. So, yes, great top 10, even though mine was better. Just saying.
It's a matter of perspective. Yeah.
Exactly. you got all different kinds of opinions here. That's right.
Yeah.
So let us know what you guys' favorite book of the year was. I want to know in the comments below. Make sure you check out Drew's book. Why don't you tell them just a little bit about it before you go?
So yeah, everyone, this my book is Born of Blood. It's on Kickstarter right now. We are at 60K. We have 2 weeks to go, and it's about King Cleomenes' daughter, Giaris, the soon-to-be future Queen of Sparta. We're going to see her whole life, her alpha to her omega, over 6 issues. Each issue is going to be epic, badass, violent. It's going to be graphic. It's going to be every bang for your buck. And you are going to enjoy this. We're going to see her triumphs, her tragedies. And I can't begin to tell you just how much of a palate cleanser it is compared to from the big two in the comic book industry.
That's right. Make sure you guys check it out. Also check out Comics Elite. They do weekly videos giving you their dude perspective. You totally need totally need a girl on there. Just saying. Murphy, where are you?
And the thing is, she is so busy. She's had some personal stuff go on ever since we launched it, but she is so busy right now, just handling the Kickstarters, running Merc Magazine. But yeah, eventually we would love to have that, at some point. Yeah.
It's definitely worth it. You get great perspective, a couple different ideas on what their best and their worst and their just, yeah. They're okay, Czar. But yes, we will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
I'm not just a